You are so amazing. And a part of me cringes when I say that because I know that I talk to you guys in the way that I try to talk to myself, and a part of me just immediately wants to reject that. And it's like, ew, like, who do you think you are? Like, that's such a weird thing to say. But I think it can be so hard to feel like a good person and to really see yourself in a positive light and genuinely adore yourself, be infatuated and in love with yourself in the way that other people are about you, because you are so hyper focused on your mess ups. You are so critical of all the things you do that you're not happy about. And for one, I hope you know that a bad person wouldn't think about those things. A bad person wouldn't think about how they don't like that they did that thing and that they wish they could be better. And I also want to acknowledge that I understand the difficulty in loving yourself and being nice to yourself when you keep setting a goal for yourself and you don't achieve that goal, especially when it has to do with feeling like you're not a good person because you know that you can do better, or you feel like you can do better. And honestly, in hindsight, I do think that I have been getting better within my goal, but it can be so frustrating because I've set this goal and my brain just wants it to be over with. It wants that change to be made, and I don't want to make any more mess ups. I just want it to be like changing the color in your background phone screen. Like a click and it's done. It's not going to revert back. You don't have to keep going back into your photos and changing the phone screen over and over again, trying to make sure that it doesn't change again. It doesn't catch you off guard. You change it once and it stays like that. And I think that's what makes it so easy to be hard on yourself. It's expecting that you're going to grow like a light switch. But it doesn't work like that. And a huge part of me is really frustrated by that fact. But of course, the rest of me understands. And I'm sure a hidden part of me is appreciative that it is a slower process. And I know that a future version of me is going to look back and be appreciative that it didn't just happen in an instant, because it's so cheesy and cliche, but it really is about the process. It's beautiful in hindsight. It's beautiful in mind, but in the moment it can be very difficult to be happy about it and be appreciative about it, because all you're feeling are the emotions of the disappointment and feeling like you're failing all the time. But I think a huge part of that is because I don't spend enough time thinking about when I'm not failing and how I'm not failing. Even though I may be failing in a lot of ways, I'm not failing in a lot of ways, and I'm still trying. I feel like it's harder when you have this idea of yourself and you know yourself to be a particular way, and then a change happens in your life where the perspective of yourself completely alters because of the change in dynamic in your life. And I want to say the new environment doesn't allow me to be myself, which I suppose to a degree could be true. But I think it, of course, I always say nobody, nothing can make you feel any sort of way. That person or thing, situation, whatnot, is just poking a hole in the bullet wound that you already had, that you covered up in a band-aid and thought it would just go away. It hasn't gone away. It's still there. You just didn't see it. All you did by covering it up was heighten the chance for infection and having it spread and just worsen your life. So I don't think it's a situation, the change in my life. I really think it is just poking a hole in the bullet wound that I didn't realize I had. I didn't realize that I had these shadows within myself, these things within myself that I needed to address. And I'm sure that's why it came into my life, but sometimes I wish I could just eject from the issues that have arisen within my life. Sometimes it sucks to think about it because it feels like my whole life has been difficult. Not to be mistaken, I'm so very blessed. Like, stupidly blessed. But what came to mind was my mom always says, hay un pero en la sopa. Which, whenever I say but, which is pero in Spanish, she says, there's a but in the soup. But it's just so much funnier in English because of the double T. If you add the extra T, there's a but in the soup. I don't know. Anyway.
Hee 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 hee.
It's so hard because I feel like anytime things feel kind of good, or I feel like I'm finally kind of catching a break, something really difficult arises, and I feel like I don't really get to enjoy just existing. And I'm sure it would make it easier if I actually had an emotional support system. And don't get me wrong, I have people in my life that deeply care about me, but nobody really knows how to be there for me in the way that I think my soul has yearned for throughout my life. Which, of course, everything happens for a reason. If I was meant to have that, then I'd have it, but I'm sure it's just an extra added part to learning how to appreciate myself, not having to wait for somebody else to appreciate me and see the good things in me. I think being alone has just forced me to do the growing on my own, hold myself accountable, which sometimes I really don't feel like doing. And I feel like for a good period of time I wasn't doing it, and I just felt like a horrible person. And self-worth wise, I don't think I've ever felt worse about who I was, like, as a human. Because not only was I not meeting the standards that I had for myself, but I also felt like I wasn't trying, because I wasn't. Self-growth wise, I wasn't holding myself accountable, or even if I wasn't doing anything about it. I wasn't going out of my way to think about, okay, was that something that is really benefiting me? Is this a route that can be changed through my actions? Is what I'm experiencing essentially my fault, for lack of better words? Not all of it, but I think I had a part in, or I definitely had a part in what I was experiencing regarding emotional turmoil. But I didn't feel like dealing with it. I just felt so tired of life and tired of feeling like everything always has to go wrong. I was tired of holding myself accountable. I was tired of constantly having to grow. I guess that's the thing about being human, you're always gonna have to keep growing. The thing about growing is that you have to break down and analyze yourself, which can be overwhelming because it never stops. And sometimes I just want it all to stop. And I'm sure a part of that issue is just not knowing how to properly rest and appreciate the moment. I just recently saw a video where somebody was talking about how childhood was so magical. She was like, what about childhood was so magical? She was like, I was a child. She was like, it's not that you were a child, it's that you were there. You were present in the moment. You weren't worrying about the future and you weren't yearning for something in the past. You were just in the moment and experiencing life. And I think that's a big part of why life has felt so poop lately, is because I haven't taken the time to not just verbally say, wow, I'm so blessed, or think, wow, things are kind of nice now, and then, go back to your thoughts, but genuinely be here and feel how good it is to be alive right now. Just in this moment, not thinking about, oh, I'm so glad that I have food on my table and I'm so glad that I have these things. Just be here. Like, this is so nice. And if it doesn't feel so nice, go somewhere else. Go outside or something. Like, it's cold lately and there's almost nothing that fills me with more peace and a sense of home. I can't even find the right words than when it is cold outside. Cold and nighttime is like, I almost said my love language, but being outside in the dark cold. And if I had a hammock, that would just seal the deal. But it feels so great to be alive, but I haven't been taking the time to really be here. And I think it's because I've spent so much of my life trying not to be. And of course that's a childhood thing. I just carried on into adulthood. Clearly that has had its consequences. But anyway, I don't want this video to drag on too long. But I've had some hour-long videos, like over an hour long. So anyway, I just always wonder if anybody actually will ever watch those videos because of how long they were. And I didn't know how to edit back then, and I didn't feel like learning how to edit, so a lot of pauses. But anyway, I guess the message of this video is just taking the moment to breathe in the moment. Like, just exist for longer than 10 seconds. I want to say get off your phone and go outside, but everybody says that, and who actually listens? Sometimes it feels pointless to say certain things because I don't know if it'll actually do anything, but if it helps, go outside. If it helps for me to say it to you, go outside. Don't wear shoes unless it's snowing. That might be dangerous, but if you can't go barefoot, which I don't like to because of the spiky stuff in the grass, wear some socks, walk in the grass. Honestly, it was so refreshing. I really liked the feeling of the ground rather than the shoes. I don't know. It felt a lot more liberating. It's like when you're a kid and you just prance around in the rain. I feel like it has an essence of that feeling. It just feels more freeing. I don't know how else to explain it aside from that, but I hope that made sense. Feel what it's like to be alive right now, and take the time to acknowledge how you've grown. I sound so cheesy right now, but hopefully this will reach somebody who will actually listen and do that. Because I hear myself say this, and I've heard so many people say it, and I don't do it, you know? I feel like I intake so much media and don't do enough with how much I'm intaking, but maybe this will be the video. Maybe not, but who knows? You never know. So, hopefully this reaches who it's supposed to. Hopefully this will help guide the trajectory of your day, even just a little inch toward the direction that you've been wanting to go down. Try to make it easier for yourself, because I feel like by saying go outside and stretch when you literally never do that is borderline unrealistic. I mean, do that. But if your brain immediately is like, no, then try to kind of trick yourself into doing something of that essence. Like playing music will sometimes automatically start to make me want to dance where I didn't really feel like dancing. But now I'm up and I'm getting a little exercise in. And then as I'm dancing around, my legs will kind of hurt, so then I have to stretch, as an example. And we live in a small apartment, so sometimes I'll be like, I don't have enough space, let me go outside. Very rarely, I won't lie. But especially now that it's been colder, I feel like the likelihood of me going outside during the nighttime is a lot higher than it would normally be. Though I haven't yet, aside from taking my little child of the canine variety, not human child, but taking her outside. Aside from that, I haven't really like gone outside on my own. But I want to say be nice to yourself, but don't just be nice to yourself. Actually look at yourself. Appreciate the changes you've made, the growth you've made, even if it's the teensy-weensiest bit. And yes, criticize yourself, but it's not all you are. And as long as you keep trying, you will do better. I believe in you. We will do better. And I have. It's just difficult in the moment because I'll do things that contradict the changes that I want to make. But in hindsight, I am doing a lot better than I was. And that's something to be proud of. That's something to celebrate. Although I do share some disappointment with my actions. I think it's important to still acknowledge that I have grown despite not completely changing the background color of my phone screen. Despite not completely making the change that I want to make. I was reverting back to the original analogy, sorry. I probably should have clarified that, but anyway, I hope that was nice. I hope you have a lovely night, day. My hoodie keeps falling off, but it's chilly, so let's keep it on. Also, my hair looks better in it, so thank you for being here. Sorry, I don't really look at the camera. My brain will get sidetracked if I look at the camera. ADHD things, you know. If you know, you know, you know. I know. But you should take my advice. It's good advice when applied correctly. But yeah, sorry I was like low-key crying in the beginning of the video. It's just been really rough, and it's a hard topic, you know? Not meeting up to your expectations of yourself. Especially when you have very high ones, you know? But you got this. We got this. Let me know what you're struggling with in the comment section. Or if you need me to clarify anything or elaborate. And if it's something like frequently asked or more complex, then I'll probably make a video for it, and I'll see if I like link it in the comment section or something. But again, thank you for being here. I hope you come back. You should check out my other videos. I make similar videos to this where we kind of just talk about life and try to grow together, because I once heard somebody say, nobody's original, but everybody's unique. That's why I think it's not bad to copy other people. That's how you learn about yourself, through observing others and seeing what you do like and what you don't like. You take what you do like and you leave what you don't. You take what resonates. You don't let it take from you. But we're not original because we are taking from other people. But we're all unique because we all create different paintings out of the colors that we see in others. You know? It's like we meet others or observe others and we see what colors they're using, and you alter them to your own liking so that you can make your own painting, your own life, your own self, the person that you really want to be, you know? Well, my canine baby is currently sleeping with my mom, so all you got is Captain Sparks. He says goodbye. We'll see you later.